Thank you, dear. I heard that. It's just chocolate death. Hey, did I say that out loud? Yes.
Well, Granny, can you say hello to everyone?
Some of these people look very familiar.
Well, that's because you know some of them.
I do?
Yes. This is the Alumni Association. We've come back to Lawrence. Don't you remember?
At my age, big lad, I'm here. Don't expect me to remember why, too.
Is that your cell phone?
Heavens, no, dear. I don't have one of them newfangled things.
You don't have a cell phone?
No. I've been thinking about getting one, though, to stick in my pocket. In case it had that vibrate thing on it. Sorry.
Quite all right. Well, Granny, you seriously don't have a telephone?
No, my telephone, when I was growing up,
All the kids have telephones.
when I was growing up, sorry, my telephone hung on the wall. It had a crank on it. About 25 or 30 people on the telephone party line.
I heard you guys actually could listen to other people's conversations.
Heard some spicy stuff, let me tell you. Just a little.
Well, we're going to take a little walk down memory lane.
Memory lane, I've been there.
Yes, you have. You have a computer at home?
Did she not hear me say I'm old-fashioned? I'm old. I do not have a cell phone. I do not have a computer. I do not tweet. I do not Twitter. Maybe a little. I do not text. And I, of course, do not have an account on Facebook.
Well, my memory lane tonight is a little bit off of Facebook.
I do not Facebook.
That's fine. I printed it for you.
Oh, I can read.
Well, that's good. Because we're going to have a little fun tonight.
Nothing strenuous, though, right?
No, nothing strenuous.
At my age, I don't even jump to conclusions.
Well, I brought us some notes because they've had a group on Facebook. I don't know how many of you have been involved with that, but if you know you're from Lawrence, when?
When what?
That's the question we've all been answering. You know you're from Lawrence when, and everybody's been filling it in what they remember.
Oh.
So tonight we're going to do a little bit off of the Facebook.
Okay. Can you read that?
You know you're from Lawrence when you remember grades 7 through 12 in the same building.
I remember K through 12 in the
And of course you remember the one-room schoolhouse too, don't you?
We're not going to go there, though, are we, dear?
No, not tonight.
And you remember Jim Hudson? Stand up again, Jimmy. Stand up, stand up. He had the lumber yard here in Lawrence, and did you know he is responsible for half of Joey's family tree?
No, he is not responsible for Joey's family tree.
He's made out of wood, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I also remember that hot lunch when we had chili at school, that required a peanut butter and honey sandwich.
And it still does.
And how many of you remember the band Follies? I think we had more fun backstage than the audience had out front.
Probably better left unsaid right now.
Probably.
There are parents in this audience that think you were good.
I was very good.
How many of you had Louise Nicholas for your kindergarten teacher?
Oh my, a lot of them did. I actually had Louise Nicholas for my principal.
And little David over there had her for his mother. Bless her little heart.
And how many of you remember Bobby Warner?
He used to cross the street to shake your hand. And he said, my birthday is on February 13th.
And if you didn't remember, he would send you a birthday card. And on it, it would say, my birthday is on February 13th.
And one year, did you know he received 200 birthday cards? Many of you were part of that memorable year. 200, that's a lot.
Yes, it is. And you know it's springtime in Lawrence when Phil's Farm started cleaning out their barn.
No.
Now, can you read?
Oh, yeah. How many of you young men used to sell corn cobs?
For the outhouse?
No, for the stove. They used to soak the corn cobs in kerosene, and they used to sell them for starting stove fires.
My father was one of those young men. How many of you were out here that used to sell them a 10 cents for a gunny sack of corn cobs? Oh, see, some entrepreneurs in the room.
And how many of you remember the Haven store? Half of it was a grocery store and the other side was a haberdashery. We didn't get our fabric there though.
No?
We got our fabric at the mill. Yep. The cow's grain came in our material sack.
Grain sack?
Of course. We made curtains out of them. We made dish towels, dresses, quilts, and even my underwear.
I'm glad I missed that part of it. Oh,
Now look what you've done.
you're not helping.
The arms don't work so well.
Sorry.
Where's the other hand?
You don't want to know. We'll just keep going this way. Never mind.
Oh my, I forgot this part. How many of you remember that at the DeHaven store, the young man that worked at the meat counter had to wash the wieners every morning?
Excuse me? My father was a wiener washer.
A wiener washer. They didn't make hot dogs back then like they package them now. A wiener washer.
I'm really glad I missed that part too. Oh, and how many of you remember making a memorable trip to the Silver Dome?
That was a wild party. Oh, and the memories and the hooping and the hollering. Oh, I want to know, who is it that put those paw prints from the highway to the school? Do you know?
Yes,
Yep.
but I'm for the secrecy.
How does that work in the case of a puppet?
I'm not telling you.
How many of you remember the old DX gas station?
Oh, that was one that my grandfather ran, didn't he?
I believe he did own that.
He did?
Yes, and I remember gasoline was 35 cents a gallon. There's a story that Gladys Southly Thompson pulled up in her big old Cadillac, and she bought 60 cents worth of gas and drove away.
50 cents worth of gas? That doesn't even get you out of the gas station anymore.
That is true.
I can't even get it started, that's right. And who remembers Charlie Dillenbeck pulling the garbage can with a broom behind the horses in the Oxroad parade?
Yeah.
It looked like a poor man's float, didn't it? Bless his little heart.
You mean he was a pooper scooper?
That's what we mean. No, on the road.
Right. Oh. And then people always joke about small towns and nothing to do. The most exciting thing to do was to go watch haircuts at Dick's barber shop. Did that really happen?
It certainly did. They would sit there for hours. Talk about the women gossiping. Isn't that right, Dick? Oh, see, he's thinking he's going to keep his mouth shut in this case.
And does anybody remember Hooch and his body shop?
You think he could help me with my body?
Auto body, Granny.
Well, my body got this way automatically.
You gotta love a small town.
Oh, yes.
And I have a summary sheet here. In a nutshell, you know you're from Lawrence when
You wore purple and white.
right. Or you remember the prom in the high school gym.
Before the homecoming game, you had snake dance from the park to the bonfire at the school.
Right. Or the whole team went to the Our Dairy Freeze for ice cream.
We went to the Hyatt House after the football game.
That's right.
And you bought your groceries at M&M's.
Yep.
And you got your nuts and bolts from either Walker's, Roots, or Field Hardware.
That's right. Or you helped build kids' palace. How many of you got to build kids' palace? Look at the hands. It was a community event, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And a lot of us have dressed up to walk in the Oxroad parade.
Or you had to hold your breath when they pulled from mosquitoes. Do you remember that?
I remember that. And my grandma and grandpa used to live next to that famous red house in town.
And you remember Mrs. Ewert was the librarian?
Yes. And we all went to eat at the Lawrence Inn, or now the Waffle House.
And you know you're from Lawrence when you knew what a wiener washer was. Come on. Oh, that's not on the list. Sorry.
But it is kind of cool that Lawrence sounds kind of like that TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
And your business.
Yes. Yes, sometimes that's an advantage, sometimes not so much. Well, Granny, I think it's about time for you to say goodbye.
Well, it has been a pleasure visiting with all of you. Thank you for going down memory lane with us.